Hey everyone, it's your two favorite realtors, the dynamic duo, Wendi Mallard and
Michelle Waters.
And we love to bring you educational content. So today we thought it would be a good idea to go live on all of the different social media platforms. And we're bringing you the top questions that we get all the time at open houses and buyer and listing consultations, different questions that you have and concerns. So we have our good friend, Tom Bickett from Annie Mac to help with any mortgage and lending questions. So we're going to get started. If you have any questions, you can put it in the chat and we will we'll have those answered for you. But if not, we're just going to kind of go through the ones that we have listed as well. So Michelle, do you want to start with our first question?
Yeah. So Tom.
Yes.
I hosted an open house about 2 weeks ago and the buyer comes in and she says, I love this house. And I'm like, cool. Do you want to put an offer in? And she's like, listen, interest rates are way too high. I am not looking to buy. And I'm kind of like, that's the only thing holding you back. What do you think about that?
I think that, number one, that's a real concern.
Yeah.
In the marketplace. We hear it all the time from our buyers, whether they're a first-time home buyer, whether they currently own a home and they're thinking about taking investment properties or buying that second home or upgrade or downgrade. So it's clearly something that we have to contend with, right? We've been in this interest rate environment now for about 2 years. The Federal Reserve started raising rates about 24 months ago. We came off an incredibly historically low interest rate. So people were like 2 something. And now we're 7 something, 6 something, right? Kind of in that range. Here's what I think. I can't predict when interest rates are going to go up.
Can you imagine if you could though?
I would have retired a long time ago, trust me. And everyone, I think, is kind of waiting, like hoping. I think it's more a function of hope. Like, well, I hope interest rates come down. Just because interest rates go down doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make a more affordable purchase for them. Right? There's a lot of people out there that are feeling the same way. And as soon as interest rates start to drop, everyone's going to start lining up.
It's going to bring so many more buyers and competition.
I think it will loosen up the listing side of it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to create enough inventory fast enough to satiate the number of people out there that are waiting for this interest rate drop. I kind of equated it the other day to like this wave, right? It's offshore. You can't see it right now, but this wave of lower rates is building and it's gaining momentum. And the media is talking more about it. We're starting to see signs in the economy that, we're probably going to see some Fed shift here later this year with some potential rate cuts. So this wave is building and building and building, and it eventually is going to hit the shore in dramatic fashion. And when it does, everyone's going to be running to try to get a lower interest rate, try to buy that house. Listen, interest rates are temporary. Price of home is forever, for as long as you own that home.
I always tell my clients, date the rate, marry the house.
That's
You're 100% right. So I've done enough studies now, and we can do what's called a cost of waiting analysis to show someone what do we think is going to happen to pricing of homes as interest rates come down. So October of last year, rates peaked. We were around 8% for good quality conventional buyers, pretty high. And we've already seen the math for people who made the buying decision then, and with interest rates now about 1% lower, their homes have already appreciated between 8 and 10%.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible.
So imagine calling your client and say, hey, I know you made a sacrifice to buy at 8% and we spent $300,000. I probably could sell your home now for anywhere between $330,000 and $340,000. Right? So if you waited to buy that home today, you're paying $340,000 at 7%. Chances are that payment's a lot higher than what you would have paid.
And you can always refinance.
You absolutely can refinance.
Absolutely.
You can't refinance an asset you don't own.
Exactly.
So the best way to partake in future lower rates is to own the asset today. As long as it's right for your budget, it's right for your family, it's not going to break the bank. And that's why it's really important to get with, good agents, good lenders to really review what does it look like. And maybe today is not the right time to buy. But at least understanding what and when, so when it does hit, if it hits, you're even that much more prepared.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I also get, Tom, a lot of people say, well, the prices of homes are crazy right now compared to, COVID and pre-COVID. And for me, I always tell them it's just going to keep going up.
I would be naive to say that things are going to go up forever. Right. But most asset classes, given enough time, are going to perform well. Right. If you go back and look at the history of investments, whether it's real estate, stocks, the longer the time frame you give something, the more likely it is going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
The pricing that we're seeing right now is not because of COVID. COVID accelerated it because of lower interest rates, but we were headed this way, at least here locally in New Jersey, because of supply and demand. There's more people out there that are thinking about owning or needing or wanting a home than there is inventory to provide for that. That's why we're still seeing bidding wars. That's why we're still seeing limited days on market. So if a home is priced well, it's in decent condition, people are going to go ahead and make a really good offer on it.
Yeah, they definitely are.
They're not building enough houses, at least here locally in South Jersey, to keep up with that pace. So when you have a supply demand challenge like we do now, it's going to prop up price.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to drive prices substantially lower is an influx of inventory. And that's either going to come from builders deciding to build in New Jersey, or we go through some major recession where people just need to sell because they're out of work or something like that. Again, neither of those scenarios, I think, have a likely chance of happening.
Yeah.
Right. So that just means that the next 5 years, they're anticipating a 4 to 6% appreciation rate on most homes in our market.
Yeah.
And that means if you're going to buy today, you're probably going to experience some price appreciation moving forward, which is a good thing. But if you wait, you're going to pay a premium.
Exactly. See, I have a lot of buyers who, bought pre-COVID. They're sitting on tons of equity. And then they say, well, I don't want to get rid of that interest rate. And I'm like, you need to move. You are, you growing family and you're like a 3-bedroom and they're just sitting because of that interest rate.
There's so much equity in the home.
So much
ones that were sold 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The cool thing is what we're seeing a lot of now is something that we've kind of come up with the term of first-time home sellers. People who rush to the market, they wanted to get that first home. It was a young couple, maybe they started to have some children. They're now really thinking about school districts and size of home and community and all that great stuff. They have a ton of equity.
Yes,
in most cases,
do.
we're seeing like 6 digits of equity come into the table.
Yes.
So they can go buy that more expensive home. And for the first time, like these people, when they bought the home, probably put like 3 to 5% down. They probably took an FHA loan.
Right.
They're now putting down 20, 30, 40, 50% equity on that new purchase because they're unlocking all this incredible equity. They're making that equity work for their next house. So it's going to help mitigate some of that sting of having a higher interest rate and a higher monthly payment, but they have a ton of equity.
Yeah.
Or they're putting a nice down payment down and maybe paying off some debts.
Exactly.
Or they're making a nice down payment and put some money in the bank and have some savings, having some comfort, having some, some security that, I know I got to handle this payment for a while, but let me stick some money over here to make sure I'm good, right? They have a lot more options now because they have money.
Yeah.
Or even put it back into the home itself.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, renovations. Like maybe you don't want to pay top dollar for what you want. Maybe we scale down and, if you think you're a 500 buyer, maybe we jump down to 350 and put 75, 100 grand into it. So you make it your own.
Yeah.
Get that HGTV feel that everybody wants.
Yes, absolutely.
For a long time, I thought that was the only channel I actually had on my TV. Every time I turned it on, it was HGTV.
Hey, I'm guilty of it. I like some good Property Brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Want me to list it?
Oh, yes.
Yes. But Property Brothers is a really good example because during like the mid-teens, like we had the financial crisis in late 2000s, we had tons of foreclosures, and those foreclosure inventory hit the market in like 2012, 13, 14. We did a ton of renovation loans.
Yeah.
I used to call it the HGTV loan, right? And that's when those just got really popular.
Yeah.
So like 203K loans or home style renovation, you can actually borrow the money off of the future value of what that house could be.
Yeah.
And so someone who maybe has FHA with just that 3.5% down, they can still do, $100,000 renovation.
For
with
sure.
Just 3.5% down.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think that we're going to see more and more of those types of products come to fruition just as the market continues to shift and navigate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So one of the questions that I get a lot, I have a lot of friends who are haven't owned a home in a while, so they're renting, but they're looking to buy, and I keep telling them that there are all these great programs, grants. You've talked about them to me and Michelle as well, and then you also have your own here at Annie Mac that are different than the grant. So if you can kind of go over both of those, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because you don't have the money needed to go to closing doesn't mean you can't go buy a house.
Right.
Tons of programs and products available, especially for first-time home buyers. For the last 12 years, the government entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, they've been collecting a lot of fees on people paying their mortgages. And those fees have been piling up, and they all have a surplus. Right? So what they're now doing is creating programs and initiatives to help those disenfranchised first-time home buyers. So, for example, the state of New Jersey has 3 great loan options. One is called First Time Home Buyer. The other one's called Homeward Bound. And the last one's called HFA Advantage. all three of them here in local South Jersey offer a $10,000 grant. Okay. Don't have to pay it back as long as you live in that house for 5 years.
Yeah.
And if your parents currently don't own a home, you could be considered a first generational buyer to where you get an additional $7,000.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing when you mentioned that the other day.
Yeah.
So for like first time home buyers who are buying, let's say the first time home buyer price is somewhere in, I'm going to say 175 to 275. Let's say that's the strike zone for people that are first time home buyers. In most of those cases, they're going to have almost all their money covered.
Yeah.
And if they are that first generation buyer, they're really not coming out of pocket with any money
No.
other than maybe their home inspection.
Yeah.
And
Which
that
is
can
important.
be used for both conventional, FHA, all of
That's the beautiful
different-
thing with the state. They have two different avenues. So you have the first time home buyer, which is all government based. That's going to be your FHAs, your USDAs, and your VAs.
Okay.
And then FHA Advantage is going to be that conventional customer. So again, depending on the situation, depending on the profile, we're going to put them in whatever is the best fit. I like the first time home buyer one simply because it comes with a little bit better interest rate
Mhm.
than what you're going to get with the conventional product. But again, sometimes FHA or VA doesn't always present the best offer. So we also want to make sure the customer is getting the absolute best look on their offer when it goes out. So sometimes conventional gives them a little bit of advantage when making an offer.
Yeah.
Super powerful. We have some internal grants we developed. One's a $3,000 program called Bar Smart Access. They don't have to repay it. It's not a lien. It's simply $3,000. And it's all depending on where they're buying and making sure their income's under a certain threshold. There's another program we developed called Home Start, where depending on where they live now, may qualify them for $8,000 of credit. Doesn't have to be repaid.
Wow.
It's not lien. And with both of those programs, they're going to get a great interest rate with no price adjustments, like really good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that as this thing continues, and especially with things happening with NAR settlement, I think that these agencies are going to continue to develop programs to help first-time home buyers become more competitive.
Yeah.
Right? Affordability is tough. Savings is tough. So we want people to experience home ownership because we know it's a path to wealth,
Right.
Absolutely.
but we need to give them every fighting chance possible. So I think more and more programs like this are going to become available.
Yeah. And it's good for them to understand because, some of them say like the home buying process seems so overwhelming.
Sure.
And for me, I know, and Wendy, we like to help our clients and build the knowledge for them. And it's really great that they now know more about these grants.
Yeah, I think that the world of instant gratification, like, oh, let me click this on Amazon and it shows up tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right.
Right, has kind of hurt our industry a little bit, right? There's lenders out there that click button, get mortgage, right? But that doesn't work for everybody,
No.
especially first-time home buyers, right? Now more so than ever, it's important to get sound advice. Understand your purchase power. Understand programs that are available to you.
Yeah.
Understand your budget.
And each client is so different,
Yeah.
There's different needs for different clients. So it's great that we
Exactly.
all work together and kind of
Yes.
get you the best
Yeah.
possible.
At the end of the day, the most rewarding thing is number one, to see a first-time home buyer get a home that they can afford. But
Absolutely.
when you call them a year later, be like, hey, you okay? Yeah, this is perfect. Best
Yeah.
decision I ever made.
It makes you so happy
It
knowing
really
that you
does.
really, really did a great job for them.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're helping them to like start their life together, helping them with their dreams and their goals, and just it's such
That's
an
why I love
And it's
Right.
fulfilling when they call you and they're like, hey, we're having a baby, and now you know that you're going to help them find that second home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really emotional when you get down to it and you're like, oh,
It should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell people, listen, buying a home is nervous to begin with, right?
For sure,
Especially if
yeah.
it's your first time. You're anxious, you're nervous, you're scared, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But when you can trust people that have done it before, it really, and who has proven systems and processes to make you feel good and walk you through it, it really takes a lot of the stress away.
It honestly does. Yeah.
That's the
really
number one answer
And
I
it's
get
really
at the closing
rewarding
table.
getting to guide people through those processes
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And knowing that we have an awesome lender like you who's going to back us up.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, when you're sitting at the closing table, my number one favorite answer is that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to
Oh,
be.
yeah. Yeah.
That tells me everything I need to hear.
Yes, for sure. I know the whole process can seem very, very scary, especially, some of them, most of mine are like renters and they're like, I want to buy, and then they just don't know where to go. But it's like rewarding knowing that you help them and we help them and we get them there.
Yeah. When you're renting, and I'm not saying renting is bad, but you're making somebody else rich.
Yes. Yes.
That's ultimately what's happening. Yes,
Yes.
you need a roof over your head. Yes, maybe you think you're not ready to be a homeowner because it comes with a lot of extra responsibility. But no, when you're renting, you are making someone else rich.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yes. A lot of people will say to me, like, credit, right? People think that they have to have perfect credit to be able to buy. And it's simply not the case. Yeah, it's not the case.
It's probably the number one misunderstood thing we hear about. I don't know if I can qualify. My credit is X.
Yeah.
Right. And the other sad part about it is that there's not really a place for people to get educated about their money.
Yes.
Right. They go to school, go to high school, maybe they go to college, maybe they go to trades, whatever it is. There's not really a place for people to go get great education about credit.
Yeah.
So we definitely spend a lot of time educating consumers about what actually impacts their credit. You don't need perfect credit. For the state programs, I usually use that as the benchmark. Their minimum credit standard is a 620.
Yeah.
And if you're a 620 and you can get a state financed loan, you're going to get the same rate as somebody who's 720 or 820, right? That's the beautiful thing about the state. They're giving this great package regardless of credit. But one of the other things we do, for us, it's not just simply a yes or no. It's like, one, do you understand your credit? Do you know what impacts your credit? Let's talk about your credit, and I'm going to point out some information to you that's going to help you improve your credit.
Right.
Maybe
and my clients appreciate that so much that Tom takes the time to do some type of credit repair. A lot of people don't know what impacts credit. And a lot of them, when I say, like, what's your credit score? They have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
And it's crazy that, like, we're not taught these things,
They don't even know where to go to figure that out.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
Come to us. We'll figure it out. And the cool part is we usually start with a credit softball for our clients, so there's no hard inquiry. We can kind of look behind the curtain of their credit and start making some observations.
Yeah.
And for most people, it's just mismanagement of credit. Obviously, if you're going to miss payments on things, that's going to impact your credit negatively. But it's more than that. Almost as important as missed payments is how well you maintain balances on credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I always give people an example. Let's say that you and I are twins, right? And we have the same credit card. We make the same amount of money. We always make our payments on time, and it's $1,000 limit. And you're smart. You pay it off every month.
Oh, I'm going to be the smart one?
You're the smart one. I am the dumb one. I went out and bought myself a brand new TV for the Super Bowl that's upcoming, and I spent $900. So I'm using 90%. Even though I make the minimum payments, I'm always on time. I'm using 90% of my credit, and that's going to hurt my credit.
Yeah.
Even though it's paid perfectly, because I'm overutilizing what's available to me. You, on the other hand, you have virtually no balance owed. So you have almost 100% availability. Your credit's going to be probably 40, 50 points higher than mine just because of that. That's really powerful.
That is
people
really
don't
powerful.
know those balances.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the dollar amount. So if someone has a $300 credit limit and their balance is $250, nominally it doesn't sound like a whole bunch of money,
But there's still a limit.
but they're near that limit.
Right.
It's impacting their scores. Right. So just simple things like that, pointing out to them, people just don't know.
So what would you say are probably the top 3 things that truly impact your credit?
Obviously, payment history.
Yep.
Okay. You got to, I always say pay current credit on time. Keep current credit current, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially young people, and I'm not pointing out young people, but I see more often with young people, maybe they got a collection account hanging out there. Maybe they had a repossession. Maybe they had a charge off. And they think, well, if I just solve that problem, it will fix everything else. In time, yes. It's probably not going to have an immediate impact. But if you got current credit and you're currently late on something more than 30 days late, that's going to ding your credit.
Yeah.
You got to get current credit current because it has the most impact on your credit. Mm-hmm. And then time heals all things, right? The longer you can stay current on current credit, the less impact lates have on your overall credit. Then once you're current on all your current credit, and if you still got some of the other stuff hanging around, work on negotiating it, try to pay it for 30 or 50 cents on the dollar. Most collection companies will work with you. Mm-hmm. So if you owe someone $500 in a collection, you probably can settle up for $200 to $300. Mm-hmm. Save yourself a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You owed it. You decided not to pay it. It's water under the bridge. But paying that off immediately isn't going to give you an immediate boost. That's more of a long game.
Yeah.
Usually for clients, we're focused on how do we get them into a loan like now.
Yeah.
So for some people, it's immediate, quick fix, we're done. Other people, it's might take a little bit of time, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
Yeah. I always tell people that, today's no buyer because of credit is tomorrow's great home buyer. It's just a function of time. If you really want something, there's a law there that says what you focus on expands.
Yes.
As soon as people start thinking about their credit and taking those little action items, they will immediately see credit improvement.
Yeah.
And that's important.
That is very important.
Yeah.
About how long does it take for credit to start to improve?
It depends on the severity, right? I equate bad credit as like a paper cut. When does it hurt the most?
Immediately.
Immediately,
Yeah.
right? So is there a difference between a paper cut and that versus, oops, I cut myself with a knife in the kitchen, right? The deeper the cut, the longer it's going to take to heal.
Yeah.
Right? So the more damage you've done to your credit, the more time you're going to need to fix it. So as you said earlier, like every client's unique.
Yeah.
So we're going to uniquely identify the time frame that we think it's going to take. For most people, it's a lot shorter than they think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen people move their credit in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, sometimes even a week. And we have some technology in the background that can really target and specific what to do next.
Yeah.
Hey, do this, do this, do this, and we can expect this, this, and this.
That's amazing. And huge. Yeah.
Yeah, because now you're giving people a roadmap.
Exactly.
Right? If I just say, go pay things on time and call me back,
Right.
That's not offering them any service.
Exactly.
Right? But if I say, hey, do this,
Step
then
by
this,
step.
then this, and then let me know when that's done, now they have something tangible that they can go to work on. And I always tell people use like Credit Karma. It's not exact, but it's enough to give
Start.
people direction.
Mhm. Yes,
Right? People like wins. Everybody loves to win. I don't care who you are. Everyone likes to win, right? So if you're doing the work at home and you're seeing your score tick up, it's giving you confidence.
Yes.
It's giving you a win, and it makes you feel good because you know you're that much closer.
Which is awesome, Tom, because me and Wendi also do the same thing with our buyers. We kind of follow a roadmap. And it's great to know that behind the scenes of lending, you're doing the same thing with our buyers.
Yeah. Listen, it's not realtor and lender. It's realtor lender,
Yeah.
right?
As a team.
And we ultimately try to be on the same side of the table
Yeah.
when
Absolutely.
it comes to helping our clients because we're all integral, integrated in making it all happen.
We're all so important.
Yeah. It's like you can't go to market and say, well, let's go buy a house if you have no idea what they qualify for, how to structure that
Exactly.
deal.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time saying, well, hey, you max qualify for 800,000, but you only really want to afford 400,000.
Right. And that's a big thing too. People need to know what they can afford comfortably.
Yeah, even if they can qualify for something much larger, what is it that you can
Yeah.
actually afford?
Yes.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, what's my max qualification? Like, do you really want to know?
Right. Yeah. What are you comfortable
Do you
with paying?
really want to know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, here's what happens. I can approve you for 800,000, but your budget's 400,000, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
comfortable. But you want to go start peaking at 500,000, 600. By default, those houses are just going to look nicer. They're going to feel nicer, maybe a little bit more updated, a little bit more space, that open kitchen, whatever it is. The higher up the price scale you go, the more in love you may fall with something. But then reality kicks in, and you're like, well, I can't afford that, or I don't want to
Yeah.
afford that. And then you start looking at $400,000 houses again, and you're like, ugh,
Discouraged.
these houses aren't what I want,
Yeah.
right? So it's really important that we nail that ideal price point. So then you can give that to your realtors who can set up the proper searches to bring you the right inventory that matches that desired outcome.
Yeah.
And then you might say, well, hey, you know what? These houses aren't good for me. Then it's easier to move up gradually. It's easier to go up.
Yes.
Hey, let's move up 50 grand and see if anything's different. Much better success that way than reverse.
Yeah.
Trying to work down.
For sure. And I know a lot of people will say to me like, oh, I really want that dream home. But I tell them sometimes it's better to just take the starter home, build the
Yeah.
equity, and then build yourself up until you get to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, your first home isn't always necessarily your dream home.
Yeah. And you honestly, you don't want it to be. You know, you want to build that equity.
Yeah.
It's almost like a game, you know? You're kind of like, I'm going to buy this, fix this, sell it, and go move on.
I tell my kids who are 16 and 14, and they know what I do. I said, when you're at that point down the road, buy a duplex.
Yeah, that was my first house.
Yes.
Yeah.
My first house was a
Yes.
duplex, and me and my husband, we were dating, and we were kind of like, do we go rent? And we were looking at the prices of rent, and I was like, why are we doing this? Let's go buy a duplex. So we buy a
Mhm.
duplex, we rent the one side out, and we lived in the other for free.
Yeah.
For free. It covered the cost of our mortgage.
And that's exactly what you were
Yeah.
saying.
House
Yeah.
hacking.
Yeah.
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 And then we sold that duplex and made like buku bucks off of it. And then I bought my forever house. So it was
Done.
such a great investment. But I will tell you, like a lot of people, don't do it, don't do it. Do it. Do it. It was the best thing I ever did.
It absolutely is. I mean, again, it takes on a little bit more risk. You got to deal with the tenant, you got to deal with problems, but you're living rent free,
For sure.
household free when you get someone
sure.
covering your mortgage payment.
Yes.
And if you
Incredible way
hold
to
on
go
to
up.
it too, you can have that.
The equity
And-
was insane.
Equity or
It
build
just
an
made more
investment
sense to
portfolio.
sell and buy.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, it gives you more options.
For sure.
And it's easier to make mistakes when you're young
Yeah.
and learn from those than it is to wait until you're older you know, where mistakes have a little bit more impact because maybe you do have kids and maybe you do have mortgages and maybe you have other commitments. Like if you're a first-time home buyer out there right now and you're thinking about making that move, I would definitely consider multi-unit as an option.
Absolutely.
And see what that looks like.
Absolutely. And if you compare the payment of it versus like rents sometimes, you're living there, especially with the offset of the payment from the other units. Let's say it's a triplex. Now you're getting double while you're living in the one.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, when you are living in it, if you're scared of renters, they're less likely to destroy your property when they're living next to you. And I had friends from like college and stuff that moved in, and it was much easier that way. And we all got along, and it was like a big little community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they fall in love with you too. And then they're like, hey, we're looking to buy our first house. And then, you know, it's just fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, when you truly care about other people, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're a day in the business or a veteran, when you show up and actually care about other people's outcome, you're going to do a good job.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's, I would say, like, to the people listening, like, that's the first thing I picked up with the two of you. Like, you truly do care about the people that you're helping.
Yeah.
It's
And
all about
that's
service and helping
100%.
rather than,
So what other questions are coming up?
So my sellers, I have this too a lot. They will say to me, I really want to get out of here. I have all this equity, but I'm scared I'm not going to be able to get that next house. What do I do?
Yeah, with all the contingencies on, you know, selling their home and then being able to purchase the next dream home.
Yep. So because of the inventory challenges we talked about earlier, if you're going to market with something like a contingency, and for those who don't understand what a contingency is, that means I'd like to buy this house, but I need to sell my house first, right? Very common. And this market, pre-COVID, that was a very natural transaction.
Yeah.
But now, because of where inventory is, in most cases, the seller doesn't need to deal with someone else's contingency. There's typically enough offers coming in where someone's going to either waive their contingency or just don't need to sell a house.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate for the people that have that situation. So Andy Mack, about 3 years ago, developed a strategy we call cash to keys. It's a private equity firm that we built from the ground up that solves for that. So for people that are home sale contingent, and they don't want to list their home, they don't want to be homeless, they're not sure what to do, cash to keys allows them to go to market and be a cash buyer.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, or as at the end of June, cash to keys for buy now, sell later, where I think we're like 450 families helped through buy now, sell later.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in some of those cases, what happens is cash to keys will buy the house they want, let them move into it, and then as soon as you get their existing home sold, we'll resell the house to them for the same price we paid.
Amazing.
Is there a timeline on that? Like, how does it work?
Once we buy the house for them, we give them 6 months to sell their existing house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah, especially in this market.
Yeah, and I think out of 450 homes that we've done, give or take a little bit, only one house I think we had to buy. So what happens is after 6 months, if they still haven't sold their home, they will have agreed to sell it to us at a reduced price.
Gotcha.
Out of all those deals, I think only one we actually
Wow,
have
that's
buying after the
phenomenal.
fact.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And it's just the guy was moving from California to Jersey. The market had really shifted where he was, and he overpriced his house. Listen to your realtors when it comes to pricing.
Yes,
Like,
please.
they know the market.
Yes,
they have the
please.
systems.
We do a lot of research.
Yes. But yeah, so and some people, we get under a cash contract and you're able to get their home sold right away, and we just marry it all up so they would buy directly from the seller. Either way, and it's been about 50-50, where we end up buying the house and we sell it to them, or they just buy direct. It's remove that contingency.
Yeah.
It's allow them to make a competitive, non-contingent cash offer. So the number one user of that platform has been the first-time home seller.
Yeah.
Right? These are people that are maybe, don't have a ton of liquid assets, but they got that tremendous amount of equity in their home.
Yeah.
And all they need is a way to unlock it.
Exactly.
So Cash Keys unlocks all that equity and allows you as agents to do a really good job on both sides. You're not worried about trying to make a combined outcome, right? Well, let me either get it sold with some flexibility terms. Maybe I'm leaving some money on the table. Maybe you overpay on the buy side because I got this contingency. It allows you to go be a great buyer agent using our cash, and allows you to be a great listing agent selling that home with no contingencies attached
And
to
it
it.
really takes the stress off of the seller, because a lot of times that's what they're nervous about. Oh my gosh, what if it doesn't sell?
Yes. Earlier we talked about we can't predict interest rates. The other thing we can't predict when your dream home is going to hit the market.
That's a big one
We
too.
don't
Yeah.
know.
I always tell my clients too, if you see it today, it's not going to always be there tomorrow.
So everyone has
get
that dream
prepared.
home, right? Like if it's that home, I'll drop everything, leave work early to go take a look at it.
Yeah,
But if you're not in a position to make a winning offer, it's just going to lead to disappointment in most cases.
absolutely.
So once we know what that dream home looks like, imagine it hits the market tomorrow and you're lined up ready to go make a great non-contingent cash offer.
Yeah,
It's going to give you a really good chance.
that you're gonna get your offer
That's gonna
accepted.
Absolutely.
be Moving into
Yeah.
that dream home.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on average with our cash to keys clients, it's like this, by the second offer, they're in contract.
Wow. That's
For people that are contingent, here's what happens. They make an offer, rejected. Now they're getting like, not feeling real good about
Yeah,
it.
you
So
get
now
really
they're-
fancy.
Yeah, so now they're going to start doing some things that may not be in their best financial interest.
Mhm.
Let me overpay. Let me overpromise. Let me sell
They
into a
start
rent bag.
removing like home inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it does.
absolutely.
It really gets you nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the perfect solution, but it's the best solution that we've figured out that has really helped people navigate this weird market of low inventory and high demand.
Yeah,
Until that dynamic changes, which again, kind of talked about, I don't think that's changing anytime soon. This strategy continues to gain a lot of traction.
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
That is a big leverage piece for
Yeah. The other
clients.
cool part about cash keys is you don't have to have a home to sell to use it. We can help first-time home buyers make cash offers.
That's
leveraging
big
cash
too.
offer. Yeah. So if you go in and say, hey, I'm a 5% down first-time home buyer, that seller might be like, well, I don't know. That's not as attractive as somebody putting down 10%.
Yeah,
or 15%. We can go in and remove that financial contingency and offer a cash guarantee. And that cash guarantee is designed to protect the contract, to protect the seller. What happens if, right? You don't anticipate this stuff happening, but what happens if someone loses their job?
And these things do happen every single
And they
day.
have happened.
Yeah,
And imagine if that seller was relying on that to go buy this house, and that person was relying on buying that house. And just because this guy lost his job, everything
it's like
else
a
falls
domino
apart.
effect. Yeah,
So Cash to Keys realized that problem and says, you know what, let's issue a cash guarantee. So if something happens to our buyer and they can't perform, we would step in and purchase that home from that seller to hold up the integrity of the market. And because of that, and we've had people who unfortunately lose their jobs,
Mhm.
and we still ended up buying the home if they were Cash to Keys clients.
yeah,
So definitely changing the way real estate's thinking and how it operates.
yeah.
Putting the power of cash in your hands as agents to help clients go make better offers.
And really just helping clients in general.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Every now and then the markets evolve, right?
Yeah.
And for a really long time, the market really just did the same thing as it's always done with very little change. And it's been a long time since we've been in a market like this with incredibly low inventory and high buyer demand that the old strategies don't work as well.
Yeah,
So
Constantly shifting
I'm
and
fortunate enough to work for a company that's innovative, that's thinking differently. How do
Yeah.
we solve for today's unique challenges
yeah,
and provide solutions that actually help make real estate happen? And, that's what we do. And it's
Yeah.
fun.
it is.
You have something
Yeah,
that's cool
Yeah.
that allows people to do cash offers with no contingencies. It's powerful.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are there any questions that you're seeing coming in? All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, this was amazing as our first time going live and answering some of the questions that we've had. If you have any questions that you think of that you didn't have answered today, send us a message and let us know. We
Yeah.
are hoping to actually do this more often. So
Yeah.
your next question will be answered at the next time we meet with each
We
other.
can cover any topic, anytime.
Yeah, and drop the comments after the live and we'll cover it on the next one.
Yeah.
My next one, I'm going to be giving away free hair tips.
I need to do this.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for
Yeah.
tuned in.
And thank you for doing this,
Thanks.
Tom. We
No,
really
this is fun.
appreciate it.
Listen, it's really hard for people to get information. The internet is kind of like where most people go.
Mhm.
The internet was designed to sell people stuff.
Yeah,
Right, so
and it's so conflicting sometimes.
Yeah.
You get information over here and over here and they conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
So-
we felt it was important to kind of like get these questions answered in a
Yeah.
way that, everyone is following and throughout some educational
Yeah.
stuff today. So
Yeah. It's about education, right? Empowering people to be able to make smart decisions for the money that's right for their family.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Well done.
yeah, I think it went well.
That was so
We had a lot of people in and out, in and out.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you get endings?
Yes. Your son Luke was the first person to log in on yours.
good.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's so funny.
Thank you.